The manhwa opens by explaining a terrifying place known as the Monster's Nest, also referred to as the dungeon or the labyrinth. It is an enormous and unfathomably deep realm that repeatedly spews violent monsters into the human world. Each time it happens, it brings terror beyond measure. Entire nations tremble, unable to do anything but wait and pray for someone strong enough to stop the disaster, since no one has ever truly managed to stand against it for long. The scene shifts to the outskirts of the Belgrand Empire, where a small village is in the middle of being destroyed. Houses burn and screams echo as monsters roam freely. A wolf snarls as it corners its next prey, a helpless mother clutching her child. The beast bares its fangs, ready to strike, when a man suddenly steps in. He draws his blade and cleaves the wolf cleanly down the middle in a single decisive motion. He asks the woman if she and her child are unharmed, and she confirms that they are. Relief washes over her face instantly. He tells her that she should leave the rest to them, explaining that he and his companions will handle the situation. He urges her to run as fast as she can, introducing himself as Ash, the leader of the 13th platoon of the Belgrand Imperial Knights. Ash immediately orders his unit to push forward and wipe out every monster they encounter as they charge through the ruined village. As he moves ahead, another wolf lunges at him from behind. He senses it just in time, turns sharply, switches his grip into a reverse hold, and drives his sword straight through the creature's throat. A flying monster notices the opening and swoops down to attack. Ash leaps aside to evade it, skidding across the ground before regaining his balance. Scanning his surroundings, he notices a pitchfork lying nearby. He grabs it, channels aura into it, and hurls it with overwhelming force. The weapon flies too fast for the creature to react and pins it to a wall in a single blow. Seeing how much strength he is forced to use, Ash realizes that his comrades must be facing similar pressure. The scene cuts to two members of his unit surrounded by an overwhelming horde. One of them wonders aloud how many monsters they will have to fight, and the other replies that it feels endless. Ash calls out to them, revealing their names as Merie and Will. He asks if they are still standing, saying that they cannot afford to fall here because they are the last line of defense for the village. Both Merie and Will respond with determination and charge straight back into the swarm. The battle rages on through the entire night, and by dawn, the whole platoon is visibly exhausted. Breathing heavily, Ash mutters a dangerous question, wondering if that was finally the last of them. As he pants, a massive shadow slowly stretches across the ground. The entire group senses the danger at once and turns around in dread. Towering over them is a colossal serpent, staring down at them with murderous intent. Ash remarks that it seems a real monster decided to appear only at the very end. The serpent opens its massive jaws, flames gathering inside its mouth, before unleashing a devastating beam straight toward Ash. He narrowly avoids it by leaping backward, only to realize that this was exactly what the creature wanted. The serpent rushes forward, leaving him no room to escape, and slams him against a wall. Ash manages to block its crushing attack with his sword, barely holding on. One of his companions shouts his name and draws her bow, quickly lining up a shot. She releases an arrow that flies straight into the side of the serpent's head, piercing directly through its eye. The beast recoils, dropping Ash as it lets out a piercing scream of pain. Ash acknowledges that she saved his life, and her name is revealed to be Ulka. Knowing he cannot waste this opening, Ash leaps high into the air, raises his sword, and lets out a roar as he brings the blade down with all his strength. The strike splits the serpent cleanly in two. He lands behind the fallen monster and calmly wipes the blood from his sword. The villagers watch in stunned silence, unsure if it is truly over. Moments later, cheers erupt as they realize they have been saved. The monster outbreak in the Empire is successfully suppressed thanks to the efforts of the 13th platoon, with particular praise directed at its leader. Ash's accomplishments are described as extraordinary. He personally defeated more than 200 monsters during the incident. His overwhelming combat power earns him the infamous nickname Ash the Slaughterer. Sometime later, within the Imperial Castle, the king formally rewards him by granting him the status of a quasi-noble for his achievements. Ash expresses his gratitude and walks away proudly, displaying his newly earned badge. Ulka comments that the promotion is impressive, though she says she expected nothing less from him. Will adds that it is an unbelievable rise in rank. Merie then asks whether this means Ash is officially a noble now. Ash confirms that it does, but he also reveals another piece of news. He explains that he is getting engaged. Ulka freezes in shock and begins to cry, insisting that he has to refuse. Ash responds that she should not ask him to do something impossible. He explains that his fiancée is Lady Raffia, the second daughter of the distinguished Reagan family. As a newly appointed quasi-noble, there is no realistic way for him to reject such a match. He admits that many things happened very quickly and that he was confused at first, but he convinced himself that everything would turn out fine. At the time, it felt like his life was finally heading in a perfect direction. However, his expectations are shattered. 3 years later, Ash is shown asking Raffia to repeat what she just said. She coldly informs him that the engagement has been annulled, leaving him completely stunned. He asks her to wait and explain what she means, desperately wondering if he did something wrong. He points out that he changed his clothes and even his tastes to suit her preferences. He quit drinking and smoking and constantly showered her with gifts. Raffia responds that she has simply grown tired of him, saying that dealing with a savage commoner is exhausting. She adds that she has met someone from a count's family who already gives her far more expensive presents. Ash asks if she truly plans to end the engagement for such a shallow reason, declaring that he cannot accept it because he genuinely loves her. She reacts with disgust, accusing him of only wanting to marry into her family for status. Ash denies this, stating that he never suggested such a thing and that her father was the one who pushed for the marriage in the first place. She snaps back, warning him to mind his words and not insult her father. Ash insists that he said nothing insulting. Raffia strikes her fan against her hand and declares that she is done speaking with a commoner. She orders her men to throw him out. They seize Ash and begin dragging him away as he pleads for her to listen. She coldly states that she never wants to see his face again and slams the door shut. Walking alone through the streets, Ash reflects that it makes no sense for her family to annul the engagement so publicly. The situation feels wrong. Suddenly, several men approach him and inform him that his superior is summoning him to the Night Order station. There, the commander of the Imperial Knights, Mike, informs Ash that he is being expelled from the order. Ash is stunned and asks what crime he committed. Mike replies that Ash has become an eyesore to both his career and his love life. At that moment, Ash realizes that Mike is the man Raffia has been seeing behind his back. He recalls that he never liked Mike to begin with. Mike was nothing more than a rich noble who earned his position through family connections. Ash suspects that Mike fears Ash might surpass him and earn further promotions. Mike questions the look on Ash's face and admits that he always despised him. In his view, a commoner should never stand on equal footing with a noble. He even belittles the monster Subjugation, claiming it was nothing special. Ash grows furious at the way he mocks both him and his comrades and grabs Mike by the collar, demanding that he repeat himself. Mike calmly warns that this behavior counts as defiance. He adds that if he, the son of a count, chooses to act, Ash's friends will not be allowed to remain in the unit either. Realizing the truth of those words, Ash releases him. Mike smugly says that Ash should understand the difference in their status now. Mike declares that Ash only knows how to kill monsters, and that he will teach him what truly matters for a knight. He tears the badge from Ash's chest and crushes it under his boot, sneering that Ash lacks elegance, something a commoner could never comprehend. Finally, he orders Ash to pack his belongings and leave by the end of the day. As Ash walks through the hallway, his mind is weighed down by everything that has happened. Around him, people whisper among themselves, muttering that one should never judge a book by its cover. He wonders what kind of rumor they could be referring to. Reaching a door, he knocks and steps inside, stating that he has come to return his equipment. The man inside laughs loudly and says that the knight rumored to have quit has finally shown up. Ash asks what he is talking about, clearly confused. The man replies that everyone already knows the story. According to the rumor, Ash was dumped because he forced his fiancée into some kind of bizarre sexual play. Ash demands to know where something so absurd even started. The man explains that the story claims Ash forced the beautiful Lady Raffia into baby play, which disgusted her so much that she fled to Mike for help. Supposedly, Mike became furious and fired Ash on the spot. Hearing this, Ash can only cringe, wondering if this is truly how people see him now. None of it is even remotely true. Ash storms outside and slams his fist into a wall, questioning why Mike would go so far as to destroy his reputation. He reflects that he worked tirelessly for years, only to lose everything in an instant. Ulka suddenly calls out to him and runs over, asking if the rumor is true that he is quitting the order. She is the only noble in his unit. While everyone calls her Ulka, her real name is Ulrika. Ash tells her that he is not quitting at all, but that he was fired. She asks why that would happen and says that she still has so much left to learn from him. Ash looks genuinely touched and tells her that she is also something of a mascot for the unit. He recalls how she cried constantly when she first joined, but admits that she has grown tremendously since then. Ulka then says that she has heard the baby play rumors as well and boldly adds that if he were truly into something like that, she would not mind either. Ash snaps back, asking what is wrong with her, and firmly states that the rumors are complete fabrications. Ulka responds that if those stories are lies, then there is no reason for him to leave. She asks what will happen to the Janice unit if he is gone. This triggers a flashback to 3 years earlier. Merie is shown clearly irritated, pointing out that despite everyone fighting with everything they had, only Ash received a medal while the rest of them were ignored. Will comments that the Empire does not take dungeon crises seriously at all, treating them as nothing more than pest control. Ash responds that even so, they protected the village, and the villagers thanked them sincerely. He says that this is something they should be proud of. Even if the nobles fail to understand their efforts, it is a memory they will carry with them forever. He then suggests that to commemorate their battle, they should give their unit a proper name. The group agrees, and Ash asks Will if he has any ideas. Will thinks for a moment and proposes the name Janice, an ancient god with 2 faces, one looking to the future and the other to the past. Merie laughs and remarks that it is exactly what she would expect from their resident brainiac. Ulka agrees as well, saying that the name fits them perfectly since they fight both monsters and humans alike. Ash declares that it is settled, announcing that from that day forward, they will be known as the Janice unit. Returning to the present, Ash tells Ulka that even if they are separated, he will always be a member of the unit, no matter where he goes. She asks what he plans to do next, and he answers that he is sick of the Empire's nobles and will likely leave the country altogether. Ulka grabs his arm and insists that she will go with him. Ash refuses, explaining that she is still a noble and must remain behind to protect the unit. She says that she understands, but then boldly adds that she wants him to ride her once he has settled down somewhere. Ash promises her that he will. As he walks away, she shouts after him, warning him not to forget that promise, before her thoughts drift in a rather inappropriate direction as she watches him leave. Ash explains that he returned his honorary title and abandoned the Hart family name, becoming simply Ash once again. Rather than regret, he feels a strange sense of relief, as if a heavy burden has been lifted from his shoulders. Feeling refreshed, he boards a train and prepares to move on. As he looks out the window, Ash notes that it has already been 2 days since he left the Empire. It is his first time riding a train, and he finds it unbelievable that it runs on magic. The speed is incomparable to that of a carriage. An older man approaches and politely asks if he may have a moment. Ash asks who he is, and the man explains that he found a flyer and wondered if it belonged to him. Ash confirms that it does and thanks him. The man then asks if this is Ash's first time visiting the kingdom. Ash asks how he could tell, and the man replies that Ash's curious gaze at the scenery gave him away, adding that he clearly is not from the Rosabelle Kingdom. Ash explains that in the Empire, only the wealthy are allowed to ride magic trains. The man responds that in the kingdom, such trains are simply a normal means of transportation. Ash says that is incredible, and the man proudly states that the kingdom leads the world in magical technology. The Rosebell Kingdom has always lived under the constant threat of dungeons and monsters, and magic is the only force capable of opposing them. From conjuring fire and water to performing miraculous healing arts, all of it is the result of magical research. This technology, known as magitech, uses materials harvested from defeated monsters. Thanks to magitech, life in the kingdom has become vastly more prosperous, earning it worldwide recognition as a great magitech nation. Ash remarks that compared to this, the Empire, which neglects its dungeons, truly feels like a backwater country. An announcement then plays on the train, stating that they will soon arrive at the western second dungeon city of the kingdom. The old man notes that it seems they have arrived. As the announcer reminds passengers to take their belongings, Ash follows the old man off the train, as they are headed in the same direction. Another man calls out to the older gentleman, and a carriage can be seen waiting nearby. Ash thanks him for teaching him so much. The man brushes it off and welcomes Ash to the kingdom, saying he hopes he enjoys his stay. Ash agrees and thanks him once again. Walking through the city, Ash notes that this is the kingdom's second dungeon city. He is amazed by the sight, surrounded by merchants in every direction. As he continues forward, he notices a woman running behind him. He wonders what is going on just as she bumps into his arm. Several men chase after her, shouting and asking how far she thinks she can run in this city. She eventually reaches a dead end, and they laugh, saying she has nowhere left to escape. She begs them to stop, and one man begins to say that if she just behaves, but before he can finish, Ash grabs his shoulder and calmly remarks that they are being far too rough, especially in public. The man angrily demands to know who Ash thinks he is for interfering. Ash replies that anyone can see she is clearly distressed and that they should leave her alone. The man draws back his fist, tells Ash to shut up, and swings. Ash easily sidesteps the punch and drives a blow straight into the man's stomach, making him vomit and collapse to the ground. The remaining two men rush at Ash, swinging wildly, but they fail to land a single hit. Ash observes that while he initially thought they were just drunk, their movements suggest they are used to fighting, which makes sense for a dungeon city. He kicks one man square in the chest, sending him flying. The bald man turns too late and takes a punch directly to the face, crashing to the ground as well, while Ash restrains his wrist. The first man, now furious, grabs his sword and declares that he will not forgive this. Ash sighs and asks if he truly intends to draw a weapon in the middle of the city. The man lunges at him anyway. A loud voice suddenly shouts for them to stop, declaring that this situation will not be ignored. The newcomer states that there is no way an amateur could defeat a knight, especially not one of the Empire's finest, Ash the Heartslayer. Ash reacts with surprise and excitement upon seeing him. The man introduces himself as Bale Baron of the Kingdom Knights. In the past, during exchange matches between the Imperial Knights and the Kingdom Knights, Bale and Ash fought many times, with their victories and defeats evenly matched. In other words, they are perfect rivals. The scene shifts to the two of them drinking together at a nearby tavern. Bale explains that he rushed over after hearing reports of a disturbance and never expected to run into an old friend. Ash says that it has been about a year since their last match. Bale then asks why Ash came to the kingdom. Ash says that he was just about to explain that. While smoking a cigarette, Ash explains that this is why he quit the Knights and came here. Bale comments that it is unfortunate, admitting that it angers him, but then suggests that Ash should start a new life in the kingdom instead. Ash is surprised when Bale offers him a position as a dungeon hunter. Ash asks what that entails, and Bale explains that dungeon hunters enter dungeons, hunt monsters, extract the magic stones from their bodies, and sell them to the association. With Ash's skill, he could easily earn a comfortable living. Bale adds that he would personally be glad to have a capable former knight like Ash become a hunter. Suddenly, a man bursts into the tavern, shouting that there is an emergency. He announces that a monster outbreak has occurred in a dungeon. Ash asks if he means a monster overflow. The man confirms that the Knight Order has issued an emergency request to the Hunter Association, but they are unsure how many people they can gather. Bale thinks for a moment and then tells Ash that this is the perfect chance for them to fight together again. It is explained that an overflow is a phenomenon where monsters go berserk, escaping the dungeon and attacking any human or object in sight. They decide to head into the dungeon to stop it before civilians are harmed. Ash agrees to join, and Bale says he is glad to be able to fight alongside him. Ash replies that he will do his best not to slow him down. At the Hunter Association, Bale explains that they need to stop there first. The first floor is filled with shouting and confusion. The soldier from earlier informs the receptionist, May, that he has brought Captain Bale. People around them demand to know what the plan is and whether they are going in, asking if there are any orders from the Knights. Ash remarks that the place is complete chaos. Bale responds that this only shows how serious the situation is and asks May for the details. She says she has been waiting for him and reports that there has been an abnormal outbreak of blue apes on the 10th basement floor, numbering around 300. Bale says that there is no doubt about it and confirms that this is an overflow in progress. May then asks who the man with him is. Bale introduces him as Ash and says he will be joining the defense line. May questions whether it is wise to bring a friend along, asking if he is a hunter or a knight. Nearby adventurers begin whispering, asking if he has any experience or if he is a knight from another city. Bale says there is no reason to worry, stating that he personally guarantees Ash's abilities. He adds that there is no time to waste and that they need to hurry to the dungeon immediately. The two of them head toward the first dungeon entrance, where Bale explains that he will lend Ash proper weapons and armor. Ash says that he is grateful, explaining that he normally prefers light armor. As for a weapon, he mentions that a longsword would be ideal, though he adds that he can manage with almost anything. Bale responds that, in that case, there is something specific he should use. He presents a magic sword and asks if Ash recognizes it. Ash replies that it is his first time seeing such a weapon and asks how it differs from an ordinary blade. Bale explains that the sword uses a special technology known as manhwarecap arms. He describes it as a fusion between a magical tool and a conventional weapon, enhanced with built-in functions. Bale instructs Ash to insert a magic stone into the slot embedded in the guard. Ash says that he will try it and carefully fits the stone into place, asking if he has done it correctly. Almost immediately, the sword begins to emit a faint bluish glow. Ash looks visibly surprised by the reaction. Bale explains that a thin layer of aura now coats the blade and that its power is extraordinary, amplifying physical force several times over. He adds that unlike ordinary enchanted weapons, manhwarecap arms interact directly with magic stones to activate a variety of special effects. Ash comments that the weapon is incredible, saying that fighting with something like this could completely change his combat style. Bale replies that with preparations complete, it is time to storm the dungeon. They step onto the first floor, and Ash explains that dungeons are structured into multiple levels. He notes that the types of monsters roaming inside vary by floor, and the deeper one goes, the more dangerous the monsters become. Bale explains that a barricade has been set up in front of the stairs on the third floor, where they plan to intercept the monsters. When they arrive at the third floor, Ash looks around in disbelief and asks whether this place is truly artificial. The ceiling towers high above them, and the distance they descended does not match the interior space at all. Bale says that dungeons are filled with unexplained phenomena, but adds that exploration can wait for another time. He states that their priority right now is monster suppression. He also explains that the stairs leading to the fourth floor have been sealed to prevent further movement. Bale says they will organize their forces here and prepare for defense, but almost immediately, the barricade begins to shake. He expresses surprise that the monsters are already breaking through. One of the men warns that the shutter will not hold much longer, and Bale tells Ash to prepare himself. Moments later, the barrier shatters completely as a swarm of blue apes pours through the opening. Bale informs Ash that the weak point of these monsters is their head. One of the blue apes lunges directly at Ash, and Ash remarks that they are not particularly fast as he slices the creature into several pieces. The men who doubted him earlier stare in shock. Ash, however, seems even more surprised by the weapon itself, stating that cutting with the sword feels like slicing butter. Bale asks if he likes the sword that much. Ash responds that with a blade like this, decapitation is not even necessary to kill them. As he continues cleaving the monsters apart, their bodies collapse to the ground, but one that has been split in half continues crawling toward him. Ash cuts off its head afterward, stating that he finally understands. Bale says that he was about to explain it himself but notes that Ash figured it out quickly, adding that the monsters are extremely tenacious. Ash replies that this makes them troublesome and admits that being a hunter is not as easy as he initially imagined. Another blue ape attacks him from behind, and Ash remarks that he has developed a newfound respect for hunters. Bale adds that the fur of these creatures sells for a high price, explaining that it is commonly used for winter clothing worn by nobles. The two accompanying men can only stare in amazement. They comment that there is no opportunity for them to even intervene. While blue apes are not weak monsters, both fighters are overwhelmingly strong. They note that they already knew Bale's skill level, but they cannot help wondering who his partner really is. At that moment, someone steps forward and identifies Ash as Ash the Slaughterer, the knight who previously stopped a monster overflow in the Empire. He adds that Ash defeated over 200 monsters by himself. The men react in disbelief, saying that such a feat places him at least in the hero class. They add that if he is comparable to Belgrand, then his skill rivals that of the kingdom's 10 swords. They remark that the title of 10 swords is the highest honor within the Knight Order and question whether this claim is serious. Bale removes his helmet and confirms that it is true, stating that it is the ultimate aspiration of every knight. Ash tells Bale that his skills have improved, and Bale replies that the same is true for Ash. As they continue pushing forward, they unconsciously turn the battle into a competition. Ash asks whether Bale truly believes he has grown stronger as well. Bale responds that he has, adding that it only makes him want Ash to become a hunter even more. Eventually, the dungeon grows quiet, and they wonder if the battle has finally ended. It becomes clear that the two of them alone have wiped out all 300 blue apes. The other men sit down, admitting that they were completely carried through the fight and did not have to lift a single finger. They return to the Hunter Association, where May is shown placing a massive sum of money on the counter. Ash asks if the amount is truly correct. May assures him that there is no mistake. Bale tells her to explain that this level of payment is standard for high-ranking hunters. She confirms that it is true. Bale then asks Ash one final time whether he would like to become a hunter in the Rosabelle Kingdom. May also encourages him to accept. Ash replies that he does not have anything else planned and decides to become a hunter. Everyone reacts with excitement, and Bale says they should celebrate Ash's new beginning with a welcome party. A few days later, at the Imperial Knight border headquarters, a woman enters and informs Ulka that a postcard has arrived for her. Ulka thanks her for her work, and when she sees that the postcard is from Ash, she starts laughing and says that she will go see him soon. She eagerly anticipates their reunion, but then notices that the card was sent from the Rosebell Kingdom's second dungeon city. Soon after, there is a knock on the door, and Merie will enter, commenting that Ulka seems to be in a good mood. Ulka asks whether their training is already finished, and they confirm that it is. Merie remarks that things do not feel the same without Ash around. Ulka says that she heard Ash became a hunter in the Rosebell Kingdom. Merie asks how she could possibly know that. Ulka explains that a letter arrived at her family home and that Ash is now earning a living hunting magical beasts. Merie wonders aloud whether being a hunter pays well. Ulka replies that judging by the letter, Ash does not appear to be struggling financially, even though he has only been paid for an overflow so far. Will comments that it sounds easier than working while constantly being criticized by people who are openly prejudiced against them. He adds that they are mocked simply for belonging to the 13th unit. Merie says that being a hunter suits Ash far better. Ulka then announces that she is quitting the Knights. They ask if she is truly planning to chase after Ash, and she confirms that she is. Will admits that he has been thinking about quitting as well and might take over his family's merchant business. When they ask if he is serious, Merie complains that things are going to become unbearably boring. She then declares that she will become a hunter too, saying that working with Ash again sounds fun. Ulka begins sulking and Merie asks where exactly Ash is staying in Rosebell. Ulka lies that it is the first dungeon city. She suggests that they could go together, but Ulka refuses. Ulka says that she will head there after speaking with her family. Merie responds that she understands and remarks that after today, the 13th unit will be disbanded, adding that she cannot believe Ulka kept this from her. Back at the Hunter Association, Ash approaches May, who asks whether he is there to complete the registration process. Ash confirms and thanks her. May welcomes him warmly. She praises his performance from the other day, saying she cannot believe someone so strong and handsome is joining. Ash begins to tune her out as she continues talking enthusiastically. May introduces herself properly, and they exchange polite greetings. She hands Ash a form and instructs him to fill it out, which he does. She tells him to wait while she registers him officially and gives him a playful wink. Ash sits down, staring blankly ahead. A few minutes later, May returns and hands him his hunter license. She explains that he must present it to the staff whenever he enters or exits a dungeon. Ash asks whether that is how the association keeps track of who enters the dungeon. She explains that it is exactly for that purpose, adding that if someone fails to return, a search party is dispatched. Ash comments that the system sounds well organized and says that it allows him to explore without constant worry. She continues by explaining that any materials obtained during monster subjugation must be submitted to the association. Ash asks if that includes things like claws, fangs, and other monster parts. She confirms that it does, adding that hunters are not allowed to keep materials for personal use, even if they want something like fur to make a winter coat. Ash remarks that the rules are quite strict. She then adds another condition, stating that hunters are not permitted to renounce their citizenship. She explains that this rule exists to prevent sensitive dungeon information from leaking to other nations. Ash asks about traveling abroad, and she responds that while it is not outright forbidden, it is safer to avoid doing so. With that, she concludes the explanation and formally welcomes him to the Hunter Association. Ash thanks her and says that he will do his best. He heads back toward the second dungeon entrance. Outside, he approaches a desk, where a staff member asks whether he intends to enter the dungeon. Ash confirms that he does. The man asks to see his license, checks it, and gives permission for him to proceed. As Ash moves forward, someone bumps into him, causing him to drop his card onto the ground. The man picks it up and hands it back, remarking that he can tell Ash is new because of the beginner mark on his license. He adds that if Ash does not want to die, he should either stay outside or limit himself to the shallow floors. Ash wonders what the man's problem is, but brushes it off. Regardless, it is time to begin his work as a hunter. This will be his first time exploring a dungeon alone. As he steps inside, he says that he will take things slowly. He hears voices nearby celebrating a successful kill and sees a group of teenagers excitedly talking about obtaining a magic stone. Ash comments that they look very young and wonders what they are doing here. They explain that they are slime fishing. Ash asks what that means, and the kids explain that if vegetables are thrown into a pond, slimes approach to eat them. Once lured out, their core can be stabbed with a sword, making it easy to obtain a small magic stone. Ash remarks that it really is just like fishing. One of the kids explains that slimes are docile monsters, making this an easy way to earn pocket money. Ash thinks they are surprisingly resourceful and notes that the monsters in this area do not seem particularly dangerous. The kids explain that monsters only become dangerous on deeper floors, but the value of materials increases accordingly. They add that if Ash is confident in his skills, he should try heading to the 10th floor. Ash replies that he plans to do exactly that. One of the kids then holds out his hand. Ash looks confused, and the kid tells him to stop pretending and asks for the information fee. Ash, genuinely confused, goes along with it anyway. The kid thanks him for his business. Ash realizes afterward that he was the one who got fished instead. He says that he should move on to the next floor and looks forward to seeing what kinds of monsters await him. Deeper in the dungeon, the man who had insulted him earlier is shown panicking. He shouts in fear, asking what is happening and what kind of creatures are surrounding them as his group is cornered. Back with Ash, he reaches the 4th floor and comments that it is hard to believe this place exists inside a dungeon. He recalls Bale mentioning that the scenery can change drastically between floors. Even on the 4th floor, there is a sky overhead and grass underfoot. He spots a horned rabbit and remarks that it looks cute. The creature approaches before suddenly leaping at him with incredible speed. Ash dodges the attack and decapitates it, stating that no matter how cute it looks, it is still a monster. This becomes his first solo monster kill inside the dungeon. He opens his monster guide and reads that the creature is called a horned rabbit and is exactly what it appears to be. The materials to submit are the horn and the magic stone, which he places into his pouch. He comments on how mysterious the bag is. However, he notes that the purchase price for materials from these monsters is low, making the effort not worth it. He decides it would be better to hurry to the deeper floors. As he turns around, he suddenly sees a large group of horned rabbits gathering together, clearly ready to swarm him. Ash immediately runs away, saying that he wants no part of that situation. After that, aside from a few minor incidents, his exploration proceeds smoothly. Eventually, he reaches the 13th floor and comments that he has gone surprisingly deep. He has passed through forests, plains, and various environments, and now finds himself inside a cave system. He hears screams echoing from deeper within and runs toward the sound. He soon spots the rude man from earlier along with his party. Ash recognizes them as the group he encountered at the dungeon entrance just as a skeleton lunges at the man in front. Ash rushes forward and warns him, blocking the attack and asking if he is all right. He identifies the enemy as a skeleton warrior, noting that this is his first time seeing one. He kicks the skeleton in the chest, snapping its spine and sending it crashing into a wall. Despite that, it continues crawling forward. Ash concludes that the head must be the weak point, similar to the blue apes. He smashes its skull, sighing in relief, but then sees a purple aura envelop the remains as the skeleton begins to reassemble. Ash reacts in shock, asking whether the creature is immortal. A woman from the group explains that the magic stone is the key and that he needs to remove it from the skeleton's chest. Ash says that he can see it now. When the skeleton attacks again, Ash slices through its weapon, shattering it. He closes the distance, thrusts his hand into its chest, and rips out the core before crushing it. He asks if that is what she meant. The skeleton collapses and crumbles into pieces. Ash says that he understands now, remarking that once the method is clear, defeating them becomes easy. He proceeds to take down the remaining skeletons one by one before they can retaliate. Afterward, the group thanks him, saying that he saved their lives. The rude man finally realizes that Ash is the same person he met at the entrance. He admits that he did not know Ash was so strong and apologizes for acting immature earlier. Ash says that it does not matter and asks what happened. The man explains that because the dungeon had been quiet after the recent overflow, they ventured deeper than usual. Skeleton warriors ambushed them from the shadows. One of their companions, Sammy, protected him but was badly injured. They fought back but were eventually surrounded. The woman adds that they were completely outmatched. Sammy groans in pain, and they ask if he is all right. Ash examines him and says that the wound has reached the nerves and that the bleeding is severe. He states that if nothing is done, it will become life-threatening. Suddenly, the sound of rattling bones echoes again. When they turn around, another large group of skeletons appears. Ash notes that there are a lot of them and realizes how dangerous the situation is. The woman shouts a warning as the skeletons leap toward him. Ash cuts them down, but they immediately begin regenerating. He curses himself for forgetting that detail so quickly. He tells the others to get Sammy out of there immediately, and they begin to move. Ash slashes through another skeleton and kicks it away, but more close in around him. He realizes there are too many and that he does not have the time to aim for each magic core. He recognizes that the situation is dire, as everyone is still trapped here. He thinks desperately and remembers something. At the blacksmith, when he bought his longsword and breastplate, the man also insisted on giving him an extra item. It was a smoke bomb. The bomb is filled with materials from vicious monsters and is designed to repel nearby creatures. The blacksmith said it would be useful in emergencies. Ash wonders whether it will really work but begins rummaging through his items until he finds it. He pulls it out, takes aim, and throws it directly into the group, striking one skeleton in the face. Thick smoke immediately erupts everywhere. The woman questions whether something like this will even work on skeletons. Ash responds that if it does not, they are finished, so he hopes it does. The skeletons freeze in place, and the group becomes excited as they realize they have an opening. Ash says that this is their only chance and that they need to escape immediately. He lifts Sammy onto his shoulder and starts carrying him away. They manage to reach the stairs and retreat to a safer area, narrowly escaping the danger. Ash says that Sammy's right arm may be beyond saving, but first aid still has to be applied because he will bleed out at this rate. He instructs them to open Sammy's mouth, explaining that he is about to pour in a potion. The man admits that the bleeding has slowed, and Ash immediately says that they need to return to the surface as fast as possible. They rush straight back to the association. Ash throws the door open and announces that they have a critically injured person who needs a doctor right away. After the staff carries Sammy away, Ash sinks down onto a couch, saying that everything from here on is in the doctor's hands. The two adventurers begin apologizing repeatedly. Ash tells them not to worry, explaining that helping one another is only natural among adventurers and that there is no need to dwell on it. About an hour later, the doctor comes out and closes the door behind him. They anxiously ask how Sammy is doing. The doctor explains that Sammy would have died without the potion. They both express deep relief, but the doctor adds that nothing could be done for his arm because treatment came too late. The group agrees that surviving is what matters most, and even if Sammy can no longer fight, he can still work as a porter. The woman adds that even if he quits being a hunter altogether, he will be fine because he is not the type to give up. Ash says that he envies how they can rely on each other and quietly wonders how his own unit is doing. Time skips ahead by a full month. The men who joined him during his first exploration with Bale ask whether he truly has no intention of joining a party. Ash replies that he does not plan to, and they tell him that he should at least consider joining their group of muscle-bound fighters. Ash laughs while smoking and says that he would rather pass. Saitama mentions that he heard the Golden Knight also invited Ash. Ash confirms that the leader, Kyle, did invite him. Ash says that Kyle spoke with a rather pompous tone. Saitama responds that Kyle is skilled, but his attitude is irritating. He then adds that there is a rumor about a named monster roaming the 14th floor. Ash asks what that means. The man explains that named monsters are rare creatures that occasionally appear in dungeons. According to reports, this one was covered in black armor and had no head. The sighting caused a huge stir because it was identified as a Doulahan. Saitama warns Ash that named monsters are extremely powerful and tells him to be careful. Ash says that he is curious whether it is something he could handle on his own. Just then, a woman enters the room, drawing everyone's attention as they comment on how beautiful she is. As she walks toward Ash, Saitama remarks that this is exactly why he keeps telling Ash to join their party. Ash laughs and starts to apologize, but suddenly Ulka appears from behind, pressing her chest against his head and covering his eyes, telling him to guess who she is. Ash turns around in shock and asks what she is doing here. Ulka replies that she came to see him. Later, the two of them go out for dinner, and Ash asks what brought her all the way here. Ulka says that the answer is obvious, explaining that she followed him. Ash looks confused and asks about the knights. Ulka says that she quit, stating that a knight order without him has no meaning. Ash reminds her that she comes from a baronial family and asks how she was allowed to leave. She explains that she cut ties with her family. Ash asks her to repeat that. Ulka explains that she told her family she was going to Rosebell, and her father told her she would have to defeat him first. Ash asks if she really fought her father. She answers that she beat him badly enough that he cannot complain anymore. She adds that she also decided to become a hunter and stay by Ash's side forever, saying that he can have both a hunting partner and a wife. Ash grows nervous and tries to ask her something. Ulka tells him to say it clearly. Ash admits that he wants to know whether she truly likes him. He adds that he is sure he likes her too, but he is afraid of being betrayed again like he was with Raffia, so he says it is nothing. Realizing that he is scared, Ulka grabs his hands and says that the other woman must have hurt him deeply. She tells him not to worry, promising that she would never do such a thing and swearing on her life that she will not betray him. She then sits directly on his lap, saying that she is glad he was not kept by that woman and that she will wait until he sorts out his feelings. Ash panics and asks whether she has always been like this. He quickly suggests that they return to the inn, and she agrees. Ash asks if she managed to secure a room. Ulka says that she did. He tells her which way he is heading, and she follows right behind him. As he climbs the stairs, she stays close. When he reaches his room, she is still there. After he closes the door, he realizes that she meant his room. Ulka starts blushing while Ash completely panics. He asks why her belongings are in the same room. She explains that she asked the guild where he was staying, arrived first, and thought this would show him how serious she is. She adds that from now on, they will be together forever. As she leans in and whispers into his ear, Ash blushes just from feeling her breath. The next morning, he wakes up to find her lying beside him on the bed. Dark circles hang under his eyes. He says that he endured the night and did not think he could, but somehow managed. Ulka laughs and tells him good morning, praising him for holding back so well. She adds that she does not plan to rush things and that one day she will make him lay a hand on her. She then tells him to hurry up because they need to eat, prepare, and head to the Hunter Association so she can get her license. Ash mutters that at this rate, he will never sleep again. They head to the Hunter Association together. Ulka clings tightly to his arm, and Ash says that it is time to get her registered. He greets May with a good morning. May responds, but when she notices Ulka beside him, she grows visibly irritated. Ulka explains that she is there to obtain a license. May storms off, telling her to wait, and Ash wonders if something happened between the two of them. Ulka casually says that she noticed May seemed interested in Ash, so she gave her a small warning that he already belongs to someone. May slams Ulka's license onto the counter. Ulka thanks her politely. May mutters that she will not lose, but Ulka responds that she was never even part of the race. Ulka laughs confidently. Ash finally understands what happened and says that now that they have the license, they should head into the dungeon so he can evaluate her abilities. He shows her the entrance and explains that with her skill level, going deeper should not be a problem. They reach the 10th floor, and Ash points out the blue apes, telling her to defeat one on her own. Ulka says that she understands. As the apes growl and charge, she draws her bow, takes aim, and fires a single arrow that obliterates one ape's head. Ash is impressed, but she does not stop there. She draws 3 arrows at once and rapid fires them, even scoring collateral hits. Ash remarks that her performance is excellent. He adds that not only have her skills not declined, they have improved significantly. When 2 apes leap at her, Ash tells her to switch to close combat. Ulka tosses her bow aside, draws a dagger, and decapitates 1 ape while the other is still mid-attack. She vaults over the remaining ape and slams it into the ground. Ash praises her close-quarters combat as well, noting that she clearly continued training even without him. He tells her that she truly is a junior he can be proud of. They leave the dungeon, and Ash comments that she has really stepped up her game. Ulka asks for more praise. Ash tells her that tomorrow they will head down to the 13th floor. She responds confidently that she is ready. Suddenly, a man runs toward them in a panic, shouting for Ash. Ash asks what is wrong. The man breathlessly reports that the Doulahan has appeared. At the association, a woman stands frozen in horror. May explains that while exploring the 14th floor, the party encountered the Doulahan. Ash immediately asks where the rest of her team is, and May answers grimly that she is the only survivor. Another man adds that, from what he heard, more than 10 people were wiped out. Ash then turns back to the shaken woman and asks if she can explain what happened. She starts to say something about a sword but cannot finish her sentence, instead screaming that everyone died instantly. Ash presses her, asking what she means, but she breaks down completely and starts screaming uncontrollably. He quickly realizes that she is in no condition to talk. Ulka asks what they should do next, and May responds that they must recover the bodies. Ulka asks if that is for burial, but May explains that it is not. She says they need to examine the wounds to gather information about the Doulahan. Ideally, they would learn its fighting style directly from the survivor, but given her shattered mental state, that seems impossible. May adds that without knowing how it fights, forming a proper subjugation team is nearly impossible. Ash asks if named monsters are truly that powerful. May answers that 3 years ago, when the red ape appeared, every top-class hunter had to be mobilized to deal with it. She says the guild will call in a body recovery team, but they will need escort hunters to protect them. Ash points out that this means someone has to go down to the 14th floor. One of the men says that running into the Doulahan would be suicide. May agrees, saying it would require a hunter with exceptional ability. Ash recalls Sammy's situation and tells May that he will escort the recovery team alone. The following day, everyone gathers for the expedition. Ash explains that their destination is the location on the 14th floor where the party was annihilated. One group states that they will handle the recovery work itself. One of the men asks Ash what they should do if they encounter the Doulahan. Ash says that they are to retreat immediately, emphasizing that this is not a subjugation mission and that recovering the bodies takes priority. 2 of the men boast that they could easily take the monster down. Ash looks visibly irritated by the comment. He reminds everyone that this is an extremely dangerous mission. Turning to Ulka, he tells her that she can wait at the inn if she wants. Ulka responds that she is capable of fighting and will not slow him down. Ash acknowledges this and tells everyone that it is time to move out. They enter the dungeon and make their way to the 13th floor. Ash spots skeleton warriors and tells Ulka that they need to destroy the magic stones and push through. He instructs her to snipe the cores whenever possible. Ulka says that she will try. She draws her bow and rapidly fires arrows, destroying multiple skeletons in seconds. One of the other hunters comments that her marksmanship is impressive and says that as long as they are dealing with skeleton warriors, they can leave it to her. Suddenly, they hear screams echoing ahead, followed by the clash of metal. What they see is the Doulahan locked in combat with 2 adventurers. Its sword is engulfed in flames, and its head itself burns like fire. The creature raises its sword and brings it down on one adventurer. He blocks the strike, but the heat melts his blade, and the Doulahan cleaves him straight down the middle. Skeleton soldiers appear behind it, adding pressure. Someone mutters that it was supposed to be on the 14th floor. Ash says that this is unexpected and focuses on the weapon, noting that the blade itself is wrapped in fire. He observes that both armor and sword melted instantly and admits that he does not know how to fight something like this. The Doulahan turns toward them, somehow sensing their presence. Ash says this is bad news and orders everyone to retreat. As they run, Ash notices something strange. The Doulahan does not pursue them. Instead, it points its sword in their direction. Ash wonders what it is doing and realizes it resembles the formal challenge of a knightly duel. It is waiting for him to draw his blade, seeking a proud battle against a worthy opponent. He recognizes the thrill instantly, the kind of fight where a single strike decides everything. It is a sensation he knows well but has not felt since becoming a hunter. Ulka shouts at him, snapping him out of it, and reminds him that his safety comes first. Ash agrees, and they retreat. Behind them, the Doulahan remains motionless, patiently waiting. One of the men calls it a monstrous lunatic, and another agrees, saying that only knights could possibly defeat something like that. Ulka then asks Ash what is wrong with his face. He asks what she means. She tells him that he is smiling. Ash wonders whether he is truly smiling at the idea that one mistake would mean death. Despite that, he cannot deny that he wants to fight it. That night at the inn, Ulka is in the shower while Ash sits outside, deep in thought about everything that happened. When they reported back to the association, they explained that the flaming sword destroyed armor and blades with ease. May stated that retrieving the bodies would be too dangerous and suggested abandoning the attempt. Another man proposed calling in the night order to deal with it. May responded that the Doulahan is on the 13th floor and has not caused civilian casualties, meaning there is no justification to mobilize the knights. Ash asks if that means the hunters have no choice but to handle it themselves. May hesitates before apologizing and asking whether he could take on the subjugation himself. Ulka tugs on his arm and silently shakes her head. Ash asks if he can have some time to think about it. May nods and tells him to take all the time he needs. When Ulka comes out of the bathroom, Ash calls out to her, saying that there is something he wants to discuss. She asks what it is, and he says that he wants to fight the Doulahan. He explains that this is not a mission or an obligation, but his own personal decision. He starts to say that she should stay behind, but she cuts him off, telling him not to finish that sentence. Ash asks what she is doing, and she snaps back that she should be the one asking that question. She says that he always assumes he has to face everything alone, and it makes her angry. She reminds him that during the Empire's overflow, he said something similar about not needing help, even though she already told him she would fight alongside him. Ash tries to explain that this situation is different, but Ulka interrupts, saying that he is not going to die and that he will not lose to some imitation knight. She reminds him that she already promised never to leave his side. More importantly, she says she wants to talk about what happens after they win, because that part is more exciting. Ash suggests that they could go to a fancy restaurant using the reward money. Ulka agrees that food sounds nice, but adds that she would prefer a different kind of reward afterward. Ash asks if she is sure, and she confidently says yes. He agrees, and she tells him that she will hold him to that promise. The next day at the blacksmith, someone suggests that a shield might help counter the flaming sword. Ash responds that shields would be too heavy and slow. He explains that their only option is to rely on speed, confuse the enemy, and use hit-and-run tactics, meaning heavy equipment is out of the question. Ulka adds that armor and swords will just melt from the flames. The blacksmith says that if that happens, they will simply treat the gear as disposable. Ash realizes something and says that this is indeed one possible solution. They return to the 13th floor, where Ash sees the Doulahan standing in the same spot as before, as if it has been waiting specifically for him. Beneath it lie more corpses, and Ash remarks that he cannot believe people were foolish enough to challenge it. He sets his backpack down and reaches inside, taking out only his pouch. He says that it is time. Ulka agrees. Ash charges forward as Ulka draws her bow and fires the opening shot. The Doulahan deflects the arrow, sending it into the ground. Ash leaps toward it, but the Doulahan swings its sword upward. Their blades collide, and Ash notices that the flames are not active, which surprises him. The Doulahan then raises its sword high and brings it down. Ash blocks the strike, but the force is immense, producing sparks. Ulka fires an arrow to cover him, allowing him to retreat and create distance. Once clear, Ulka asks if he is all right. Ash says that he is, but notes that the Doulahan still has not used its flames, as if it is savoring the duel. He finds that fascinating. Drawing another blade, he says that it is time to continue the fight. The Doulahan grips its blade firmly and points it straight at Ash, and Ash mirrors the gesture. His heartbeat grows louder in his ears as he charges forward, both of them releasing their aura at the same time. He thrusts toward the creature's chest, but the Doulahan calmly blocks the strike. Ash notes that his assumption was correct and says that it seems unable to use the flame sword freely. He jumps back to create distance as Ulka says that she will cover him. Ash tells her to wait. This thing does not move like a monster. The way it swings its sword, the precision of its parries, everything tells him that its movements are those of a trained knight. He decides to confirm it. Ash sheaths his blade and places a hand over his chest, formally introducing himself as a former Imperial Knight. The Doulahan responds by nodding. It brings its feet together, raises its sword, and performs the formal knight's salute of the Rosabelle Kingdom. Ash says that he knew it. This Doulahan was once a kingdom knight. He tells Ulka that he will fight it one-on-one and orders her not to interfere. He adds that it is unfortunate he cannot learn its real name, but its strength is something he will carry forward in stories. He charges in and slashes across its chest, scraping the armor. He remarks that it is tough, meaning he will have to keep striking until it breaks. He continues his assault. For some reason, the Doulahan allows him to attack. The Doulahan regains its footing, and Ash notices cracks forming in its armor. He says that it is not invincible after all. The Doulahan looks down at the damage, then stabs its sword into the ground. Flames begin to surge behind it as it raises the blade high into the air. The motion resembles a flame dance. Ulka reacts in surprise, and Ash realizes that this means the real fight is about to begin. The Doulahan lunges forward, thrusting toward his head. Ash dodges, but the blade grazes his shoulder pad, instantly setting it ablaze. He rips it off and throws it aside, saying that was dangerously close. Flames spiral again as the Doulahan swings at him. Ash blocks the strike, but the sword slices straight through his blade. The Doulahan raises its weapon for another attack. As Ulka shouts his name, Ash smiles. The sound of metal rings out as he blocks the strike with another sword he has already drawn. The Doulahan pauses in surprise. Ash says that he came prepared as well. He explains that the item he carries is a magic storage pouch. Despite its small size, it can hold an enormous number of weapons. Ash begins pulling swords out one after another, tossing them aside as he says he wants to see which happens first. Either the flame sword burns through all his blades, or he shatters the Doulahan's magic stone. He grabs another sword and starts dual wielding, declaring that the duel has officially begun as he charges forward. He uses a reverse grip to block an attack, fully expecting the blade to melt. As it does, he swings upward with his other hand and discards the ruined sword. The Doulahan counterattacks, and Ash leaps back to avoid it. The creature thrusts toward his chest. Ash braces with both hands, but the sword melts through again and sends him flying backward. As he stumbles, he releases the broken blade, pulls out another, and says that he has 4 left. He throws one imbued with aura, but the Doulahan cuts it down effortlessly. Ash grabs 2 more swords and says that now there are only 3 remaining. The Doulahan prepares a wide swing, releasing a massive arc of flame. Ash stares in shock as a towering wall of fire erupts instantly. Ulka screams his name, asking if he is all right. Through the flames, his silhouette remains standing. He managed to block the attack, though both swords were destroyed. Ash says that this is his last one as he charges forward and pulls a blade from the ground. The Doulahan steps forward and unleashes another sweeping flame wheel. Ash leaps over it, raises his sword, and says that it is time to end this. He thrusts straight through the Doulahan's chest, cracking its magic stone. He jumps back as the creature staggers. Ash says he cannot believe the stone did not shatter completely. He has only 1 sword left and does not know what to do next. At that moment, the flames on the Doulahan's blade begin to fade. The Doulahan raises its sword and offers it to Ash. Ash is stunned as he takes the blade. The Doulahan then spreads its arms wide, welcoming death. Ash says that this is unexpected and notes that if it were human, that previous strike would have been fatal. He realizes that this must be why. He says that he is glad it retained its pride until the end and admits that the fight was exhilarating. It was the first time in a long while that his blood truly boiled. He bids it farewell, acknowledging that it was, without question, a knight, and drives his sword into its chest. Though it has no face, it somehow looks as if it is smiling before its body collapses into fragments on the floor. Ash pants heavily and says that it is finally over. Back at the guild, everyone is stunned that he actually defeated the Doulahan. Ash presents proof by showing its arm and sword. They are amazed and say that this outcome is exactly what they would expect from Ash. He explains that the rest of the armor pieces are stored in his pouch. May tells him not to remove them and says they must be preserved until the Night Order arrives, emphasizing that not a single piece can be lost. Ash says that he understands. May adds that they need to contact Bale and prepare the largest room available. Ash remarks that things somehow feel more exhausting after defeating it, and Ulka agrees. Bale arrives and says that he knew Ash could do it. Ash expresses surprise and excitement that Bale came personally to verify the materials. Bale explains that materials from named monsters are extremely valuable research assets. To officially submit them, both the Night Order and the Guild must be present, making this a major event. He says he will inspect them immediately since they are already laid out. As he examines them, he confirms that they are without a doubt from a Doulahan. Bale lifts the sword and says that the greatsword is an extraordinarily rare item, identifying it as a magic sword. He releases flames from the blade, stunning everyone present. May asks if he is serious, while Ash wonders what exactly that means. Bale explains that, simply put, it is a magic weapon that does not require a magic stone. It can continuously produce magical effects without any external power source. Ash says that it sounds like something straight out of a fairy tale. Bale replies that this is the 5th magic sword ever discovered within the kingdom's dungeons. May calls it a historic discovery. Bale adds that Ash may receive a formal letter of commendation from the country and can expect a substantial reward. Ash says that he understands. Bale then says that he would like both of them to write and submit a detailed report about their battle with the Doulahan. Ash asks why that is necessary. Bale explains that the armor, sword, and all related materials will be sent to the Research Institute and used as research specimens. Both of them look confused, and Ulka asks what exactly the Research Institute is. Bale explains that it is a royal organization within the kingdom dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of dungeons, monsters, and magic. May adds that the institute is also responsible for developing magic tools and magical weapons. Bale then tells Ash that he wants to hear his personal impression of the Doulahan. Ash says without hesitation that it was a true knight. Bale responds that he suspected as much. He explains that the armor closely resembles that of an ancient kingdom knight, but questions whether a deceased human could truly become a monster. He admits that he does not know what conclusion the Research Institute will reach. Ash says that he wishes he could have learned the knight's name. Bale asks whether it was strong. Ash answers that it was, stating that it was undoubtedly a fine knight. May becomes excited and praises both of them, saying they did an excellent job. After that, they head outside. Ash stretches his arms and comments that the whole process took far longer than he expected. Ulka agrees and points out that it is already nighttime. Ash says that he is exhausted and suggests they return and rest. However, people are already waiting for them, buzzing with excitement and insisting on celebrating. Ash and Ulka exchange awkward glances before heading to the inn together with the 2 muscle-bound hunters. Drinks start flowing, and the atmosphere quickly turns lively. One of the men loudly declares that from now on, Ash will be known as Ash the Doulahan Slayer. Saitama adds that Ash is officially famous now. Ash laughs and says that it is still better than being called the Slaughterer. The muscle man then asks whether the 2 of them have decided on a party name yet. Ash pauses, then smiles and says that the name was actually decided a long time ago. He asks Ulka if she remembers. She says that she does. The others ask what it is, and Ash tells them that they are the Janice squad. Meanwhile, at the station, Merie steps off a train and says that she has finally arrived, adding that the ride was not too bad. She looks around, impressed, and says that the first dungeon city looks incredible. She hopes that the 2 of them are waiting for her. As she walks through the streets, she hums cheerfully and says that she will become a hunter and rake in profits alongside them. She imagines drinking the finest liquor and enjoying gambling whenever she wants, declaring that it will be the perfect life. She enters the Hunter Association, where several men begin staring at her. They whisper that she might be a rookie hunter and suggest they would like to get to know her better. Merie approaches the receptionist and asks if she has a moment because she is looking for someone. She explains that she is searching for a hunter named Ash from the Empire. The receptionist responds that there is no hunter registered under that name. Merie says that Ulka told her this was where they were, then suddenly realizes that she has been lied to. She concludes that Ulka deliberately gave her false information so she could be alone with Ash. She says that she will not allow Ulka to ruin her billionaire plan and asks where else there are hunter associations. The receptionist replies that there is one in the second city to the west and another in the third city to the north. Merie wonders which one it could be and decides to start with the closest. She then realizes another problem and asks whether she can travel to the other cities with the money she has. The receptionist says that it would not be enough. Merie becomes visibly depressed, wondering what she is supposed to do now. At that moment, several men call out to her, saying they will help her get where she needs to go if she lets them use her body in return. Merie sighs, then immediately backhands the man, sending him flying. She notices the two men with him and realizes they're just as bad. She charges forward and knees one of them directly in the face. When the overweight man realizes he is next, he insults her, which prompts her to spin around and kick him straight in the chin, or at least one of them. He collapses unconscious. The first man struggles back to his feet and tries to swing at her. Merie ducks underneath and dropkicks him square in the head. She snaps that she is already irritated and tells them to get lost. The receptionist watches in awe and says that was impressive. She adds that if Merie needs money, she should become a hunter, as someone with her skills would be more than welcome. Merie says that is exactly the plan. She just needs to become a hunter, earn a fortune, and chase down Ash and Ulka. 2 days after the Doulahan subjugation, Ash and Ulka are walking through town when Bale calls out to Ash. Ash asks what Bale is doing here. Bale says that he is escorting the armor and sword being transported to the capital. He then calls Ash over and points out a fading inscription on the armor. It appears to have belonged to a member of the Imperial Knights who disappeared in the dungeon long ago. Ash asks if that is true and wonders aloud if he would end up like that too if he were to die in a dungeon. Bale says that no one knows. He adds that the recent monster phenomenon has not been fully resolved yet, but the research institute will investigate it. Ash says that means the armor and sword will be valuable research materials. Bale agrees and says that the reward from the capital will be determined after evaluation. In addition to that, there will also be a subjugation reward from the Hunter Association. Bale says he will see Ash later. Ash says that means it is time to head to the association. Ulka agrees. When they arrive, they hear loud voices asking if the reward is really 5 million. May confirms that it is as she presents the money. Ash calculates that if they split it evenly, they will each receive over 2.5 million. Ulka comments that a loaf of bread only costs 100 and wonders why she is even doing bread math. May then announces that in recognition of their accomplishments, Ash and Ulka have been named exclusive hunters for the second city. Ash asks whether that is a big deal. May says that it is, explaining that it comes with various special privileges and expresses hope that it will encourage him to keep defeating monsters at an even greater pace. That night, back in his room, Ash sits with a bottle of alcohol and wonders how he is supposed to spend such an enormous sum of money. The bathroom light is still on, and when the door opens, Ulka steps out and wraps her arms around his neck. She says that he surely has not forgotten about her reward. Ash becomes flustered. Ulka tells him to come over and get on the bed. He crawls over, his heart pounding, and begins blushing heavily. She wraps her arms around his head and pushes him onto the bed. He finds himself staring. She places her hands over his arms, but instead of doing anything further, she simply lies down beside him, resting her head on his arm. She says that from now on, when they sleep, he has to be her arm pillow. Ash looks shocked and asks if that is all. Ulka asks if he is disappointed, saying that they could do more if he wants. She adds that she waited for him and that this is not unreasonable. Ash quickly says no, admitting that the misunderstanding is on him. He pulls her close, hugs her tightly, and says that she is important to him. He tells her that he wants her to stay with him from now on. Ulka responds that she will always be by his side and that they will keep climbing the dungeon together. 1 week passes since the subjugation, and they continue living as hunters under the Janice team name. Ash comments that monsters on the 15th floor are already easy to deal with. Ulka agrees. Ash wonders what the 16th floor might be like. Ulka says she has no idea but suggests they go take a look. They head down together, and when they arrive, both of them stop in shock. Before them stretches a vast desert. Ulka remarks on how enormous it is. Ash says that he still cannot believe this is underground. Ulka says that dungeons truly are full of mysteries. Ash looks up and spots a familiar bird, the same type he encountered at the very beginning. There are several of them, and one suddenly flies straight at him. Ash reaches for his blade and slices its head off midair. The other bird screeches, spreads its wings, and slams them down, firing a barrage of feather-like projectiles. They pierce the ground around him, then begin to glow before exploding. Ulka points out that the creature is firing feathers and detonating them, and Ash says that it is clearly some kind of magic. The bird lets out another shriek, and Ash warns that it is about to repeat the attack, telling Ulka to run. Before they can move, they hear a woman declare that not yet, because this is her chance. The woman darts past Ash in a blur, weaving from bird to bird as if she is soaring through the air herself. In one smooth motion, she cleaves a bird diagonally down the middle. The corpse crashes to the ground, and she lands just as gracefully beside it. Ash and Ulka stare in surprise as she tells them to keep moving. It quickly becomes clear she was addressing her own team. 3 adventurers follow behind her. Their ranged support begins firing at the birds, forcing them to descend. The swordsmen time their movements perfectly, meeting the birds mid-drop and cutting through them, killing both. Ash and Ulka are left impressed, and the woman remarks that it has been a long time. Ash says that she saved him and calls her Tanya. Tanya asks if all he has for her is a simple thank you, then suddenly kisses his cheek. Ulka immediately starts freaking out. Ulka wedges herself between them, demanding to know how Tanya could do that out of nowhere. She then turns her anger on Ash, smacking him and demanding to know who that woman even is to him. Later, they all gather at an inn and share a meal together. Tanya introduces herself properly as Tanya Shandor and says it is nice to meet Ulka. Ash explains that Tanya is the leader of a high-ranking party known as Goddess Sword, famous throughout the kingdom. He adds that it is widely known she became a hunter despite being born into nobility that is nearly at the level of royalty. Ulka says that is surprising. Ash then mentions that he thought Tanya was staying at her parents' estate. Tanya replies that she returned today after hearing that Ash defeated a named monster while she was away. Ash says that she must already know everything about it. Tanya responds that it is unfortunate, because if she had not been gone, she would have been the one to slay it. Ulka snaps at her, saying that she has no idea how strong the monster truly was. Ash replies that Tanya might actually have been capable of it. He explains that she is one of the people who defeated a named monster years ago, the Red Ape, and that she did it alone. Ulka admits she did not realize Tanya was that powerful. Tanya shrugs it off and says it is not a big deal, explaining that she became a hunter to earn fame for herself rather than rely on her family name. Ulka asks why a noble as distinguished as Tanya would even know Ash. Ash explains that Tanya invited him to join her party before, but he refused. Tanya licks her fingers casually and says she still has not given up. She adds that if he joins her party, he can do whatever he wants with her body too. Both Ash and Ulka blush, and Ulka demands to know what Tanya just said. Ash starts choking on his food. Tanya continues shamelessly, saying he could earn money and sleep with her, which sounds like great conditions. Ash says that is not the issue and hurriedly claims he needs to use the restroom. Tanya smiles as she watches him leave. Ulka slams her cup onto the table and warns Tanya that if she lays a hand on Ash, she will kill her. Tanya laughs and says Ulka is clearly jealous. Then Tanya adds that her interest is not only in Ash, because she wants Ulka too. Ulka panics, and Tanya explains that everyone in her party is very satisfied with her techniques. As everyone grows increasingly embarrassed, Ulka realizes Tanya is a complete sex fiend. Tanya says that whether it is honor or pleasure, it makes no difference to her, because she always gets what she wants. Ulka decides that this is serious and declares she will not lose either, because she will not hand Ash over. Tanya responds that if that is the case, they should start with a drinking contest. A stack of beer is brought out, and the 2 women begin chugging cup after cup. Ash finally returns after finishing his business and finds them already deep into the contest. He says they should stop soon, but Ulka tells him to shut up. Ash tells Tanya to call it a night. Tanya says that he owes her one and promises she will always be waiting for him, emphasizing that she truly means it. Ash replies that waiting is a waste of time. Tanya laughs, nods, and says she will see him later. Ash carries Ulka back to their room. Ulka keeps calling out to him, and Ash tells her to hold on tight. Ulka drunkenly declares she will not give him to anyone, and Ash says that is fine. The next day, a man approaches them and says he needs to know more about the Doulahan. Ash and Ulka look confused. The man explains that they are the ones who defeated it, so he wants to hear what it was like crossing swords with it and whether it was truly strong. Ash confirms that it was. The man then asks Ulka if she really just sat there watching the entire time, and he keeps firing question after question. Ulka asks Ash who the man is. Ash admits he has no idea. Ulka then demands the man's name. The man apologizes and says he simply got excited and started talking too much. He introduces himself as Edgar Bey Luna, explaining that he is a marquis who has already passed the family headship to his son and now serves as the head of the kingdom's research institute. They realize he is an extremely high-ranking noble and the leader of a major department. Edgar says he saw the armor and found it deeply fascinating. He explains that he wanted more details so badly he could not sit still, which is why he came to ask them directly. Ash remarks that it is an impressive level of dedication. Edgar reaches into his pocket, pulling out what looks like a cigar and a lighter. He says that now that introductions are done, he should relax, but then reveals that he did not actually bring a lighter at all, because he is the lighter. He snaps his fingers, and flames bloom at his fingertips as he lights the cigar. Ash and Ulka are shocked that he can casually use magic like that. Edgar repeats that he wants to hear everything about the Doulahan, and they realize he is a wizard. They agree, and as time passes, they tell him every detail they can remember until they have shared everything they know. Edgar says that he understands, and Ulka thanks him for his time. Ash asks what Edgar thinks. Edgar snaps his fingers again and says that regarding the theory that the Doulahan was once human, he shares the same view. Ash asks if it is really possible for a dead human to become a monster at all. Edgar says that before coming here, he investigated the 14th floor, specifically the area where the Doulahan was discovered, and he found something. He brightens a lamp and raises it, revealing countless bodies. He explains that merged into the dungeon walls were countless skeletonized remains of Kingdom Knights. Ash and Ulka are stunned, asking if those knights might have been the Doulahan's comrades. Edgar says that is the most likely hypothesis. He then asks if they have heard of the concept of mana essence. He explains that mana essence is said to be the raw source of magical power that mages consume, and that dungeons are saturated with it. He adds that researchers recently learned that if an ordinary sword is exposed to mana essence for a very long time, it can transform into a magic sword. Following that logic, he says a corpse exposed to mana essence for years could conceivably transform into a monster. Both Ash and Ulka grow quiet, visibly uneasy at the implication. Edgar says that uncovering mysteries like this brings a certain romance to dungeon research, and that truth and knowledge are exactly what the kingdom seeks. Ulka then asks if he explored the 14th floor alone. Edgar says there is no way he would do something that reckless, explaining that he had his attendant Sergio and several hunters guarding him. Right on cue, Sergio walks in with Bale behind him. Sergio says he has been searching everywhere for Edgar. Edgar jokingly says speak of the devil and asks why Sergio looks so panicked. Sergio answers that Edgar wandered off on his own again. Edgar admits that he only wanted to ask Ash about the Doulahan. Sergio complains that Edgar always drags people around based on his whims, and Bale says that Edgar is always like this when dungeons are involved. Ash comments that it must be difficult dealing with him. He also mentions that he heard earlier about the method for creating magic swords. Bale looks startled and tells them to keep that information confidential. Ash and Ulka realize they were not supposed to hear it. Edgar says he has learned many fascinating things from Ash and declares that he will proceed with the matter seriously. Bale says he understands and asks if Ash and Ulka could come to the association again tomorrow. They are confused, but they agree and show up the next day. When they arrive in the meeting area, May approaches, but then the door opens. Ash expects Bale again, but instead Kyle steps in, acting overly dramatic and even winking at them. The two muscle hunters are there as well, and Tanya is present too. Ash asks why everyone is here and whether Bale summoned them. They confirm that he did, explaining that all top-tier parties in the dungeon have been gathered. Tanya says this is not a small issue. Ulka glares at Tanya from the side. Edgar enters, and Bale says it seems everyone is present. Kyle asks what Bale is planning by gathering so many elites. Bale lays out a map, and Edgar begins explaining that in recent years, named monsters have appeared with suspicious frequency. He says the Red Ape and the Doulahan were both extremely powerful. However, he notes that for several years now, the only dungeon producing named monsters has been the one in the second city. He believes an anomaly is occurring deep inside the dungeon. Because of that, he has decided to launch a large-scale investigation. Edgar explains that is why the highest-ranked hunters of the second city have been assembled, and he asks them to serve as the elite force leading the expedition, requesting their cooperation. Everyone looks shocked. Bale says he will continue the explanation. Bale states that he wants them to accompany the Night Order to the deepest section of the dungeon. Saitama asks if he means the 20th floor. The muscle hunter says the scale is unlike anything they have ever heard of. May adds that the association is already arranging the supplies and tools required for such an operation. Bale says the expedition will begin in 2 weeks. Tanya asks whether participation is mandatory. Bale says it is, explaining that the Royal Capital Research Institute proposed the investigation under direct orders from Her Majesty the Queen. Tanya remarks that if it is an order from that high up, she cannot refuse. Saitama says that with so many skilled hunters gathered, the mission should be easy. He adds that the Kingdom Knights will also be equipped with high-tech arms. Bale warns them not to underestimate it and asks what the deepest floor each of them has reached. Tanya says she has been to the 18th. Saitama says he and his partner reached the 17th. Kyle says the same. Ash says that he and Ulka are currently scouting the 17th floor. Bale says he would love to praise that, but the real problem lies on the 19th floor. He reveals that every investigation team sent there in the past has been completely annihilated. Everyone reacts in shock. Ash asks if even knights equipped with high-tech arms were destroyed. Bale confirms that they were, because there is a named monster on the 19th floor. He says that this monster is several ranks above the Doulahan and the Red Ape. He reveals its nickname as the Lizard King.